guys, I'm Stevie P. I just listened to some of the Elections Canada forum stuff. One of the questions asked was sort of, what are you going to do to help the middle class with jobs and stuff like that. And I realize there's an overall concern about the disappearing middle class, as if it's government's fault, as if the divide between rich and poor is solely on the fault of the rich or the government. And we neglect to take the fact that we are bad with our money into account. We don't save money anymore. We spend a lot of money that we don't need to. I do it, right? I worked in finance and I understand where my money goes, and a lot of it gets wasted. We purchase things we do not need. We pay for things on credit cards and buy now, pay later schemes that we do not need. And when we do that, we pay ridiculous interest charges, which digs into our wealth. It digs into our retirement funds. You know, very few people are actually saving for retirement, and that's because they're spending the money now on stuff they probably don't need. Now, some of you can argue, and will, and be like, no, I don't have enough money for any of that. Well, that's what I thought too, but when I sat down with a planner, I discovered I had hundreds of dollars a month that I was just wasting. Whether it was Starbucks, whether it was Tim Hortons, whether it was A&W, right? I could have had cereal that would have cost me, what, 50 cents? But instead I spent $11 on breakfast. How many of us are doing those things on a daily basis? Right? You cannot blame the government, you can't blame the politicians, you can't even blame your taxes on you not having the money. Right? If you have 3 or 4 cars and you're paying insurance or car payments on all of those, plus your fuel, then perhaps you may need to relook at that. Do you need 3 or 4 cars? We have multiple vehicles. Do we need them? Yes. Do I need all of them? No. I have 4 vehicles and a motorcycle. 4 cars and a motorcycle. Do I need all of those? No. Right? Could I sell my truck or my Bronco, buy a Chevy Sprint? Yes, for $1,500. My 1,000 kilometers a week driving would be dramatically reduced on the cost runs. But the choice I make is to drive a nicer car than that, that is more comfortable, that is safer. And that's a choice I make. I'm not going to blame the government because I don't have enough money, right? Now, we have to take control of our own finances, and if you don't have the ability to do that in a positive way, then definitely go and see a financial professional. If you're in Canada, I can recommend a company to you. It's the company I deal with. It's the company I used to work for. Message me. Like all companies, they're the middleman, and what you do with your money in the end is down to you. But quite often I left finance because people needed help with their money, and then you would sit down in 4, 5, 6 hours. You could put together a plan that would save them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in interest, possibly per year. You could free up a lot of money every month just by changing how bills were paid, how debt was structured. And then when people realize that they've got this extra money freed up, that money that was supposed to go to their retirement goes towards buying a new boat, or buying a new truck, or getting into more debt on a bigger payment on a car they don't need. And it was frustrating, because I'm like, you know what, I spent hours and hours and hours trying to put this together, and then people don't want to follow through because there's funner things to do with the money. Now when it comes to retirement time, guys, if you're one of those people, right, at retirement time, when you're like, oh, I have to live on Canadian pension plan money, then it serves you right, because you were not diligent with the money you had. It sucks, but that is what you chose to do. You cannot turn around and blame the government for it. If you lose all your money in the stock market or a bad housing thing or whatever, that is a different thing. Still, can you blame the government? No. Those were choices you made with your money. But it is more understandable that you're angry about it. But if you just choose not to do the things that the professionals are saying to do, then it's kind of on you. That is where the disappearing middle class is in North America. We buy things we don't need, pay interest we shouldn't to impress people we don't care about. Pay cash, have it done, don't spread it out over 10 years. I realize you can get a new Dodge Ram for a couple $100 a month for the next 4,000 years, right? Do you really need to do that? Do you really want to commit to a vehicle for 8 years or whatever it is, 7 years? Do you really want to do that, not knowing where fuel prices are going to be? Do you need a mega cab truck? You know, if there's one of you, just buy a little truck. If you need a truck, buy a little truck. Buy a Tacoma, buy a Ranger. You know, for a third of the price? Come on, guys. You don't have to buy things you don't need to impress people who you don't care about. Just to look cool. Because we all know you're financing it, having stuff does not make you wealthy. It may make you feel wealthy for a couple weeks, and then when you start paying for it, you know, or when you damage it and you've still got 7 years to pay, right? So be careful what you do with your money. It can be the difference between a wonderful retirement or a cat food retirement. And I don't say that lightly, right? You hear about people like that, but you don't want to be that people. You don't. So be good with your money. Stop blaming the government for everything that you choose to do that is against what you should be doing. I learned very young that it's up to me. No one's going to do it for me. So, you know what? Do your RSPs. Do your tax-free savings account. Maximize the ways to reduce what you have to give to the government, and definitely reduce the amount of interest you're paying on debt, right? If you have debt, that's fine, but find the cheapest way possible to pay for it so that you're not just overpaid. People pay far, far, far too much. And when you've got a good job, you don't notice it, you just pay it. But if that job situation changes, you'll feel it, and then it might be too late to change it. So, be safe, love your family, stop spending on stuff you don't need, stop blaming the government for the mistakes you make. Make those changes. It's a grown-up thing. Make the changes, have a happier life. Maybe you won't have the car you want right now, but you can actually save for it. Just saying. Have a good day. I'm Stevie P.